The silver lining. When Ananya turned 39, she inherited the heavy, velvet-draped burden of her great-aunt Alara's estate. In the center of the drafty attic sat a floor-length mirror. Its silver frame was a tangled thicket of wrought metal, carved into the shapes of weeping lilies and thorny vines that seemed to pulse in the low light. Ananya wiped a layer of decades-old dust from the glass, her fingers trembling as she caught her first glimpse of her own tired eyes. The mirror was a masterpiece, but its clarity was unsettling. After moving it to her bedroom, Ananya spent hours before it. One morning, she noticed the fine lines around her eyes had vanished. Her skin, once dull from years of stress, now glowed with the luminescence of a pearl. She touched her cheek, marveling at the silkiness of her reflection. She felt a surge of vitality she hadn't known since her teens, as if the silver glass was breathing life back into her. Weeks passed, and the transformation accelerated. Ananya looked 25, then 20, her hair thick and lustrous, her posture regal. She felt like a masterpiece being restored. A silver lining to aging, she whispered to the empty room. She ignored the way the air grew cold whenever she stood before the glass, and how the silver vines on the frame seemed to have grown longer, creeping like shadows across the floorboards. But the mirror demanded a balance. One evening, Ananya looked past her own radiant skin and focused on the reflection's eyes. They were sunken and rimmed with red. While Ananya's physical form grew younger, the woman inside the glass was decaying. The reflection's hair was turning a brittle, ghostly white, and its skin was sagging into deep, translucent folds. The reflection didn't look like Ananya anymore. It looked like a corpse. Panic seized her. Ananya grabbed a heavy wool blanket to cover the cursed thing, but as she approached, her legs turned to lead. Her reflection, the bent, withered hag, did not mirror her movement. While Ananya struggled to lift the cloth, the hag in the glass stood perfectly still, watching her with a predatory intensity. The silver lilies on the frame began to hiss like dying embers. Ananya tried to scream, but her voice was a mere rasp. The hag in the glass finally moved. She didn't follow Ananya's lead. Instead, she pressed her gnarled, liver-spotted palms against the surface of the glass from the inside. The silver surface didn't feel like solid glass anymore. It rippled like mercury. The hag's face twisted into a cruel, toothless grin, her eyes burning with a stolen fire. "Thank you for the youth," a voice croaked, echoing not from the room, but from within Ananya's own mind. The hag's hand did not stop at the surface. With a wet, tearing sound, a skeletal arm clad in a tattered sleeve pushed through the silver barrier and into the cold air of the bedroom. The fingers, tipped with yellowed nails, reached out for Ananya's throat. Ananya lunged for the door, but the silver vines on the floor lunged faster. They wrapped around her ankles like cold, metallic snakes, dragging her back toward the glass. The hag leaned out, her torso emerging from the mirror. The transition was gruesome. The youthful light was being sucked out of Ananya and flowing into the creature as it crossed the threshold. With a final, violent heave, the hag grabbed Ananya by the shoulders. The world spun. Ananya felt a sensation of freezing water swallowing her whole. She was pushed through the silver veil, the cold metal filling her lungs. As she went in, she saw the hag's skin knit together, the wrinkles smoothing out, and the gray hair turning back to a rich, dark silk. The reflection was stepping out into the light. Silence returned to the bedroom. The new Ananya smoothed her dress and smiled at her reflection in the glass. But there was no one there to see. Trapped behind the silver, the real Ananya, now a century old and fading into shadow, pressed her face against the cold, hard barrier. She watched as her usurper picked up a hairbrush, ready to live the life Ananya had so desperately tried to preserve.